Hello and welcome back to Two Fairs for the Avengers Reserve podcast, episode 11. I am delighted, as always, to be joined by Sad Boy Care. How are you doing today, Care?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Glad to see that it's getting a little bit sunnier today. There's been a lot of rain over here, so it's been a bit depressing, really. So,
it's been very hot over here. Yesterday it was 93, so... And it was just like out of nowhere.
Sounds very hot.
Yeah, that's like 32, 33.
Yeah, I don't think we... Actually, no, we did reach the 30s at some point, and then literally, as I was saying, it's just been like rain since then. But yeah, are you looking forward to your very long drive on Friday?
No. It's going to be unbearable. It's going to be 4 days of driving, but I will be in Florida on Monday, so I'm excited about that. I'm just not excited about the getting there part.
It's, once you're there as well, like you're there, like you don't really have to embrace that kind of journey for a very long time, sort of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, it should be very nice. Got Black Widow as well as Loki, which I guess we'll probably touch on after the Loki episode. But have you kind of seen like a shift, like from your friends and just a general sort of viewing that Loki is kind of stealing the thunder because it's been a series rather than Black Widow, which has been waiting, that everybody's been waiting for ages?
Most of what I've been seeing is all like Loki hype from everyone that like I follow. I have not really seen any people that like I know talking about Black Widow. It's mostly just been like Loki. So, and I even feel this way. Like I'm not even like super, cause like I don't know. Black Widow's like not like my favorite character. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also probably not going to be able to see it until like at least a few days after, maybe even like a couple weeks, because I just am going to be so busy. But I think that could also be why I'm not really excited about it, because I know I'm not going to see it right away. So I just kind of am like trying to push it away from my mind. Like, I don't know.
That's probably a thing. I think everybody that like I've spoken to has just kind of been like, it's like a surprise, like they forgot about it, like, oh, Black Widow's out this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas like Loki has kind of been ingrained in us because it's been a series that everyone's been like, oh, new episode of Loki out like tomorrow or on Wednesday or today, blah, blah, blah. Have you seen it? Just not quite the same reaction with Black Widow. But I hope it's a big success. Very much looking forward to seeing it. It's like I said, we've somehow got it in our cinemas from today.
You were saying.
So
that.
I'm gonna go and try and see it. Yeah, I'm gonna go and try and see it as soon as possible. And I think hopefully for episode 12 that we can do a sort of like breakdown of Black Widow, which would be nice. So there's that to look forward to. But yeah, before we kind of go into Black Widow a little bit more, we're obviously going to touch about the Loki episode that came out today. Episode 5 that we're on now. I think it's one of them that it's just getting better and better with each episode.
Absolutely,
and
It was
very much enjoying
this
Loki.
episode was my favorite. I feel like I've said that for like the last 3 weeks, but this episode was my favorite. Like hands down, completely my favorite at this point. So I just thought.
And I think with this one, I enjoyed the whole different not variants, different versions of Loki, all kind of interacting with it, all interacting with each other. There's like a bit in there as well where they're like talking about their own unique stories and how they've created their own Nexus events. I think with this episode as well, it's very interesting to just see all the different versions of Loki's, you know, them talking about their unique experiences and how they created their own Nexus events and different branches of time. It was opened up the mind a little bit more into the MCU, I suppose.
Oh yeah, definitely. I liked that. I have in my notes, like, I just was, like, so shocked that, like, Kid Loki killed Thor. I was like, what the heck? Like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Yeah, and
I
then
didn't
like
expect that at all.
the alligator one, and then the guy, like the one who said that like he actually won and he defeated everyone. Like it was like such a big lie, but we never actually found out like what his event was, because he just kind of like the alligator mentioned or whatever. He was like, yeah, right, like you're a liar, and then he was like,
Oh
well,
yeah.
at least I didn't eat the neighbor's cat or whatever. like
Yeah.
it was just like, but we never actually got like the storyline for him, you know?
Mm. Well, yeah, I think that Loki was just he didn't go on to any further in the episode like
Well,
Kid
yeah,
Loki and
that's
Future
true.
Loki and Alligator Loki did. So yeah, maybe there just wasn't too much point. And I suppose they can't cover all the different versions of Loki.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. We obviously go back to the very beginning when he has that first interaction with all of them, and all of them are, Loki wakes up, he's introduced very briefly, and he's kind of following them around, and their plan is literally to just survive.
Yeah.
And they have to escape this void that is appearing in front of them, which is Alioth. Yeah, it was quite funny to see that none of the Lokis had a real plan though.
I liked that. I kind of thought about it like I don't know, they were like the closest to our Loki in terms of like character development, you know? Like they were just kind of like okay with like just surviving. Like they were like, we can't have a plan. Like every time we have a plan, something goes wrong, so like we might as well just give up at this point. And it was like a little like maybe nihilistic, but like I did like that it was, I don't know, because like our Loki still like had a plan, and he was like, no, we need to have a plan. Like things have to happen. We can't just like sit here and do nothing. But I did like that they were like the very few variants of Loki who were just like okay with just existing at that point. You know, like they like were over the whole glorious purpose thing. You know. So I don't know. I really liked seeing each of their perspectives of like how things go. But
yeah, definitely. And it was interesting to just see them in this kind of a post-apocalyptic world. There was this one thing that was going around, that it was the kind of destruction that Ultron had actually brought, rather than I think people originally thought that it was if Thanos had succeeded, like we talked about in the preview, that it was the Chitauri, when Loki first invades New York, because of the way that it wasn't the Stark Tower, it was the Avengers Tower that had been
that's
designed
true.
or something. I don't know how to explain it, the structure of it. But yeah, I think it was kind of, very small nitpicking things that didn't really seem to be too much of a bother because there's so much going on.
Yeah, there was one little thing that I saw though in like the background when they were walking around. There was a helicopter in the background and it said Thanos on it. So I was like, okay.
The Thanos Copter, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I was like, what's that about? You know? I was like, what? Like, that's so interesting. I didn't, like, actually look into it, but I was just like, I thought it was an interesting little, like, Easter egg in the background. I was like, oh, cool.
Well, apparently there's, like, a fair few shout-outs in this, and I don't know, I think it's one of them that you do have to probably go and watch it back, because I think there's a fair few that probably I have missed out on. So yeah, it's, I love episodes like that because, there's not really that many series that I'll kind of go back and watch an episode very specifically. Just, not necessarily Marvel, just TV and TV episodes in general. Like, why would I go back and watch something specific? But this one, I kind of want to dig a few things out.
Whereas I rewatch everything 100 times. That's funny, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's all about kind of like digging into a bit of research a little bit more. That is loud as hell.
Definitely.
But there's you kind of have Sylvie when she's obviously still in the TVA building as well. She's kind of forced to trust Ravonna at first, as they're kind of working out what's happened to the TVA in the first place, because Ravonna kind of lets on that she doesn't have any idea. I think it's revealed a little bit later that she really doesn't know what's going on. I don't know, that entire encounter, like, I mean, I was never had any trust in Ravonna at all during that entire time.
No.
But did you think that maybe she did understand what was going on to some extent, or did you really think that she was that clueless that she was just trying to get all the information out of Sylvie?
I don't think that she knows much more than Sylvie does. I really don't. I think that she genuinely... She might have even been hoping that Sylvie knew more so that she could, like, get it out of her. But I don't think she knows much more. I really don't. Because the actress did such a, like, good job of playing a bad actress in that situation. You know what I mean? Like, she, like, was a terrible liar. Like, it was so obvious to everyone involved that she was just not gonna do what she said she was gonna do, you know? And I think that if she had known more, she probably would have been better at keeping the secret, if that makes sense. Like, she would have been better at, like, lying about these things and, like, lying to Sylvie about everything that was going on, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that, like, did she not understand that, you know, the timekeepers that were there were even androids and things like that? Because it's just like, how can someone really be so oblivious? This is goes back to the whole kind of like double, triple agent thing that I've been talking about over the past few episodes, is that maybe she just does give off that impression that she doesn't know what's going on, but really does, but actually doesn't, you know? It's a very confusing situation. Ravonna at the moment is just like, how do you not know anything? Like, you've been in the part of the TVA for that long.
Yeah.
How and why do you not know what's going on? Who created the TVA and everything? Where are the timekeepers? Where even is the TVA? We haven't really had anything like that confirmed yet. Just a bit of a interesting one. I was very surprised that Sylvie trusted her. To some extent, that she did anyway.
I don't know how much she actually trusted her. I think she always had in the back of her mind, she's like, eh. Because she even said, she was like, you had me for a second.
Yeah,
which makes me believe that you don't know anything. Like, she, like, said that, and I was like, okay, so... But I don't think she fully even had her for a second. Like, I think that she, like, gave off maybe, like, a slight vibe that she might actually help her. But then, like, immediately, as soon as she started stalling, I was like, this is, like, horrible. It was Miss Minutes that gave it away for me, though. I was like, oh, she's definitely stalling. Just the way that she was just kind of, like, every time she asked her for something, she was just kind of, like, looking around and, like, being weird. You know? I don't know. But I was like, yeah, there's no way. The entire time I was like, there's absolutely no way that she's gonna help her. I don't know.
I have to look into Miss Minutes a little bit more. I feel like there could be some sort of theories or something behind that.
Yeah.
Just because it's so much more of an interactive AI, like, reminds me of kind of like Vision when he was Jarvis and things like that. Maybe there's a little bit of a story behind there, not too sure.
Maybe.
But yeah, we get to this moment where Sylvie obviously realises that she can't trust Ravonna and gets surrounded by the TVA guards, and decides to prune herself, which I think you could kind of see coming. I think kind of as soon...
That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
If I were her.
I think there was a lot of kind of like telltales there that that's what she was going to do. And yeah, I think it was kind of nice because it was kind of like she knew that nothing was going to work and that she wanted to go back to Loki, and that's why she did it. Because she likes Loki. It's confirmed. I'm sure of it.
It's so cute. That's the scene, like, towards the end, I was like, oh god, it was so cute. I thought it was so cute.
Yeah,
anyway.
I did really enjoy that. When Sylvie arrives in... What do we call it? Is it called the Void? Because it's at the end of time, isn't it? That's where they are.
I don't think it's the... I think that's actually what they called it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
For a second, I was like, I
so
don't
Sylvie
think that's
ends
what
up
it's called, but I
in.
think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sylvie ends up in the void, and
Yeah.
this is where we get to re-see Mobius, who comes in, rescues her in a nice little pizza van. Unfortunately, wasn't on a jet ski, as everybody I think was so desperate to see. But yeah, I think that probably couldn't have gone any better for a way to reintroduce Mobius back in.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was interesting because this is just me like nitpicking stupid things that like don't matter at all, but I thought it was like I don't understand how the void works. Actually, maybe I do. Because no, actually never mind. I'm starting to think that like the void kind of, since it's like a earth basically, it kind of like rotates the same way that we do, cuz the
Right.
landmark that was like signifying like where she showed up, she was in San Francisco. And Loki ended up in New York, or what we would assume is New York. And the only thing I couldn't figure out is how the fuck they got there so fast. I was like, how did they get there so fast? It literally takes 3 days to drive that. Like, I don't understand. But like,
God,
I just
that's
think
so nitpicky.
I am nitpicky, but I think it was interesting that, like, but how did Mobius end up over there too? Like, I don't understand how they just got dropped off in different spots. That was the only thing I was really getting at. Like, because there wasn't that much time between each of their, especially Mobius and Loki's prunings. So like, how did they end up in different spots? Like, how does it work? Is it just random? They just drop them off somewhere random?
Yeah, well, there was that whole thing, wasn't there? There's that like Alief was, I don't know if he was casting them, but it was like where ships and things like that, where you would consume to get energy, sort of thing. Like they landed in the kind of like centerpiece of this land. So I don't know if like the decision is down to Alief or what, but that void is kind of Alief's as we come to understand it, and he's kind of controlling it. So maybe the timings and everything just works a little bit different, and you know, because it's you know, there's only so much power that he can conjure. Maybe it's just that everything's just a bit more compact, and that's why people get drops off in random spots. But yeah, I presume that it's just kind of random. I don't think that it's like very big, because I can imagine that would.
Well, I mean,
very difficult
she said
to
it was. Ravonna said it was like the worlds that they reset. They don't actually reset them; they just send them there. So like, it has to be like the world, like it has to be like our world. So like, I was just like confused. I don't know. Anyway, I do nitpick little stupid things, but
No. It was. I mean, seeing the voyage in general, like as we've mentioned, was pretty cool. It also moves on to where we get to see all these different versions of Loki, including President Loki, who I have to admit I had no idea that was going to be a completely different Loki. And not the way that I just saw things going at all.
Yeah, it was not. It was definitely like just not how I expected like that to be brought in. I was expecting, like, from like the first or second episode, I was expecting that Loki, like the President Loki, to be the evil variant, you know? And then I kind of forgot about it when it didn't happen, and I was like, oh, okay. And then it showed up, and I was like, oh, that's what that was? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I actually really liked the like whole Loki brawl. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I love how it started, because like Loki couldn't even trust himself in a way, you know? He's always like Loki, as we know, is always betraying the main characters, and yeah. So I also did thoroughly enjoy that.
I liked that our Loki just like was kind of just like, I don't give a shit about this. Like he was like, this is so
it's just standing idly by, like, yeah, I guess. So fed up of it all.
Of course, this is what would happen.
But yeah, so that entire brawl breaks out. Alligator Loki bites off President Loki's hand, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it allows Kid Loki, Future Loki, Alligator Loki, and normal Loki to escape.
Yeah.
Whilst Future Loki is kind of like conjuring up in... what do you even call them? Enchantments?
Like a portal?
Do we have enchantments? Portals? Yeah, not the portal. I mean, like, wasn't he's creates another version of himself, and they all think that they're fighting him.
Oh my god, there's a word for it and I can't remember it.
Is it enchant? Because that would just be...
Because that seems to be like what's in the head. You know?
Yeah. But yeah, so he does that and they all
remember.
manage to go... Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to move on. But it allows the, 4 of them to escape.
Yeah.
And kind of continue escaping the void, basically. It's very interesting. A little bit later, we see Ravonna kind of enter a room in the TVA and tells the guards to leave her. It's where we find, I believe it's Hunter B-15. I always get B-15 and C-20 mixed up. But B-15 is imprisoned in this tiny little wall where it's revealed that Ravonna really doesn't have an idea what's going on. And is trying to get as much information out of Hunter B-15 about Sylvie as possible.
Yeah.
Interesting scene. Didn't see it coming.
I didn't see it coming either. I forgot what even happened to B-15 because I have in my notes. I was like, wait, did B-15 get caught? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Like.
I don't remember if there was even like a scene of them getting caught. I'm assuming there was, but like I just didn't remember that. I was like, oh wow. I wasn't expecting B-15 to be in this episode, and I don't know why. But.
No, like, I thought her time was done. I thought it was quite fitting, you know, just the way that she took them to the timekeepers and was helping them and things like that. And then, like, I don't know if I thought she got pruned or...
Yeah, like, I don't know what I thought happened to her, but I thought she was gone. But I'm glad that they brought her back. I like the way that they brought her back, and I like that there's, like, more that she knows. Then like she knows more than Ravonna now, so I like that there's kind of, like, a leg up on like our team, we could say, but even though she's like stuck behind a wall.
Yeah, I mean it's like a race against time for Ravonna, really, isn't it? So it's kind of just how much is she really going to catch up and find enough time for what we presume is going to be the final episode next week.
Yeah.
You know, is she going to be able to get to that stage where she's able to challenge Loki and Sylvie with all the information that she's gathered and kind of work out what's actually happened to the TVA? Which, you know, as we're kind of moving on to that is where the Lokis are trying to get back to the TVA. The only way to do that is by Loki kind of coming up with this idea to take down Eliath. Which the other Lokis are kind of a bit sceptical about at first until he reunites with Sylvie, which is a very sweet moment.
Yeah.
And where she basically comes up with the idea to enchant Eliath, which was a much better plan, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely a much better plan. I was glad that they. I mean, I knew they were gonna like meet up at some point, but I'm glad that they got to like. They basically, like, opened the door at the end of this episode, like, literally, in order to, like, let in, like, just let the last episode be just, like, so big and so, like, hit the ground running. Like, they don't even have to do any exposition. They're just, like, literally walking through this portal that they created with the enchantment, you know? Like, I wouldn't have thought that it would even be possible to enchant Eliath. Like, because it's not, like, a tangible thing, so I was, like, so confused on how they were supposed to do that, you know?
Yeah, well, I think it kind of comes down to, like, it would be a difficult task, but it just depends, because Eliath is, like, a time entity, like, I'm pretty sure that's not the only, so hard talking about time, but, like, the only timeline that he's controlling, you know? So, like, he's using his power in other areas, so there's, like, that window. But I think it's also that, you know, when we get to that stage where future Loki is kind of building, I believe it's an Asgard, a replica of Asgard, to distract Alioth, that's where, you know, the Lokis realise that they have a lot of true potential and a lot of real power to kind of use, which we have kind of touched on in Loki that we haven't really seen from the magic that he's conjured up in, I think, episode 3. There's a lot of power in the Loki characters, and I'm glad that we're really starting to see it.
And I like that they used the future Loki to, like, do that, because his whole storyline was he just kind of, like, fucked off to a planet and was there for years. So it would make sense that he would just sit there and just practice his magic the entire time, you know, because there's really nothing else for him to do. So I really liked that scene. I loved the glorious purpose of future Loki was to, like, help the two main Lokis that we have, Loki and Sylvie, like, actually understand their power and, like, really bring it out. I don't know. But
I felt exactly the same. You know, it was a sacrifice, wasn't it? And I think it's one of the things that you could have seen going that, like, oh, somebody's got to take the hit of one of those 3 Lokis, and I think future Loki was probably the right decision. And kind of lived his life, and, you know, basically the story that he was kind of telling, like, after his Nexus event, and he kind of managed to, you know, escape the TVA for a time being, if it seemed, that, you know, he was kind of finally accepted himself for who he was, sort of thing. I think that's the big thing with Loki, is that they never really knew where they belonged, whereas that Loki went all by himself and just suffered the consequences of what he'd done, and lived with it. It was nice, and it was just the kind of motivation that both Lokis needed to enchant Alioth, which kind of brings us to the end of the episode, that they managed to do it. I couldn't see too much of a glimpse in what was going to happen next or what was going to be revealed, but could you?
Yeah, the only thing that I really noticed was actually not in the ending part. It was in the part where Sylvie actually gets to the planet and she makes the first connection with Eliath, that she knew, like, that made her know that she could enchant it or whatever. There was a, like, split-second glimpse of that monolith with the white circle around it, or the white thing around it, that I'm assuming is the timeline. But we don't actually know what that is. And then once they, like, opened it, it was different than what we had seen in the trailer, you know? Because there was, like, the castle on it. That's all I saw, was, like, a castle on, and, like, a path leading to a castle. But in the little glimpse that we saw, and in the glimpse that we saw in the trailers, we didn't see any, like, buildings on this, like, monolith thing. I'm just calling it a monolith because I don't know what else to call it. It's just kind of like a floating rock. Yeah. Like, but that was the only thing that I noticed, was, like, the floating rock that I've literally been waiting for since episode 1, because I was like, what the hell is that? I need to know what that is finally going to be revealed, like, what it is in the next episode, and I'm really excited about that. But that seems to be it. That seems to be the only thing that I could really gauge from that. But
yeah, that kind of brings us into predictions then quite nicely. Like, do you have any predictions for kind of like the next episode being the final episode, and what could happen in any sense?
I don't know. It could very well be the real timekeepers are there. It could be that Kang is there. It could be that the dead bodies of the real timekeepers are there. Like, it could be literally anything. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to find there. And I don't even think, like, this whole time we were like, oh, Ravonna has a plan. She's working for someone, like this, that, and the third. I don't even think she knows what the hell is there, you know? So, like, I just have absolutely no idea what we're going to see when we get there. I don't know.
I think that's what's been so good about it, is that it's changed my mind about 5 times over. That I just don't know what to expect anymore. And I think it's exactly, like you said, like, yeah, it could very well be Kang, but it could also be this. It could be A, B, C, D, E, F. There's plenty of opportunities for what it could be. I like the Kang possibility, just because of that whole... So there's a storyline where Kang creates a barrier. I think it's Kang that creates a barrier. Kang creates a barrier between him and Alioth, because him and Alioth are like... clash, because they're both Time Lords. I don't know what to call them, really.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, they're both on their own mission, revolving around time, and maybe that barrier was just broken when Silver was able to enchant. So maybe I've been saying this for literally every single episode now, is that I'm hoping that it'll come across, that we finally get to see Kang, or get a mention of Kang or something. But then I just don't know how it's going to end, if Kang is there, and we're expecting to see Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Bit of a tricky one, really.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely tricky. I don't have any idea what's going to happen.
I think there's still potential for Mephisto. I remember that being spoken about, that Mephisto could very well come into Loki. But it's going to be one of them that Loki isn't going to... This is basically my prediction, is that Loki isn't going to give us like a concrete ending, as Falcon and the Winter Soldier pretty much did. WandaVision did, because the town went back to normal and things like that. I think Loki is just... It's going to leave that mystery that it's had around it for these past few episodes.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, I just don't think there's going to be anything that we can take away from it. It's going to be similar to Infinity War, where it just leaves us waiting until it finally comes around.
Yeah. I think it would be a good setup for, like, Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, Like, I think it's going to be a very good setup. And I agree. I don't think that they're going to have a concrete ending. I'm thinking that it's going to affect what happens in the MCU from now on. I think that this ending is going to be not unsatisfying, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, unsatisfying. Yeah, it's like I was saying with, like,
Infinity War. Like, Infinity War wasn't unsatisfying. It was just like, oh my god, they didn't do it, And it's maybe now that we've said it, it's not going to be a surprise, but yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. I'm very much looking forward to it. Ratings.
There was one thing that I noticed. Sorry, there was one thing that I noticed. It was in the very beginning. I just looked at my notes again, and I was like, why did I write Black Panther? Did you notice the Black Panther camera thing that they did in the beginning of the episode? They did the thing where they start upside down and then they bring the camera up. But instead of just bringing it up, they, like, brought it forward, and then they kept going when they switched dimensions.
I know the shot that you're on about, yeah, but I don't think I don't know if I...
It was really cool. Go back and watch it. It was really cool.
Okay. Will do. Yeah, interesting. Oh, whilst we're still talking about it, though, I think it's just because Black Panther reminds me of black and pink, or purple even. You know them, like, little, like, chickens or ducks or whatever they were that didn't have heads, but, like, little... I loved them.
They gave me, what was it called? Do you remember the, in Star Wars, porgs? That's what they made me think of.
That's what I was trying to think of, what they resembled.
I was like, they look like porgs. I don't know why. They don't even look like them. They just act like them. Because they just kind of run around and do nothing.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look into them and see, like, where the hell they were from, or what they come from.
Yeah, I liked those. They were funny.
They were cool. They were definitely cool. We'll do some ratings before we come on to a couple of other subjects as well. You said that this is, like, your favourite, so how would you rate it overall?
I gave it a 10. I gave it a 10. I
Oh
know.
my god.
I know. It was so good. It was just so good. Everything. Oh, it was good. It was really good. That's all I can really say.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I will probably watch it again. I would probably give it an 8.
Yeah.
I think it was a very good episode. I definitely wouldn't rate it as high as a 10. I just felt like there was... I think maybe it's just that I wanted more and more to happen. And it felt like that whole bit from going, oh, we're going to plan to take down Alien. We're going to attack it from behind whilst he's like busy devouring a ship and things like that. From that stage where they decided that was their plan to then actually enchanting it, just felt a little bit too long to me.
I disagree. But I don't know why. I don't really remember a lot that happens other than them kind of just like sitting there and like waiting for it to like get closer. But like
Yeah.
I think that the Loki Sylvie situation definitely needed to happen, and that is really the only place that they could have put it. So I don't know. I thought that it was perfect. I thought it was really good. I had no complaints.
I think it's also just for me that maybe I preferred the action sequence of the previous episode. So I think that played a big part in sort of my decision of it. But yeah, so we've done our predictions. Got one theory which we have obviously spoken about off camera, which we will touch on to get your kind of thoughts on it. So Billy and Tommy, the children from WandaVision, there's a theory going around that they could be the TVA's prisoners, that once the hex that Wanda created in WandaVision expires, they are quickly captured by the TVA and residing in their very powerful superheroes or super beings. And I think it's a very big potential to somehow include them. How did you think?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. Like the article that we were reading, it said something about how I think it was Billy could use his powers to like communicate with Wanda from the TVA, but in the paragraph beforehand they're like, "Oh, you can't use powers in the TVA." And I was like, "Yeah, you can't use powers in the TVA. So like how is that going to work?" And also I think that like you were saying, like we don't know how time works in the TVA. So they could have not even been captured yet. But it was just, I don't know, because like wouldn't they, if they were captured by the TVA, wouldn't they already be working for the TVA? Because even though Loki was captured in 2012, like this is the 2012 variant Loki, I'm assuming that they would go in the timeline that like the shows came out, you know? I don't know.
Well, I think it's because we had that whole discussion, didn't we? Is that time works differently in the TVA. Yeah, like maybe they just haven't come at the right time. But there's also just I'm not sure. I was thinking about this as you were saying it, that the powers, like, is it just that the collars that stop them from having the powers or using their powers in the TVA?
No, because Sylvie's didn't work and she didn't have a collar.
Okay. So what does the collar do?
It that's like how they loop people and how they like, I think it's really just it kind of is a way to like set a time for like if you want them to be back on that position, as long as they're wearing the collar, they'll be there. So they
right,
can't
of course,
run away.
yeah, time phasing or whatever it's called, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I don't know.
know.
I do think there's some potential, but then again, we look at so many of these theories nowadays, that a lot of them kind of can be true, and a lot of them turn out to not be true. So, yeah, I don't know. It was a very interesting one. We'll have to wait and see if Billy and Tommy do ever make a return to the MCU.
Yeah.
and in
I
what
think they
format
will,
and how.
but-
Yeah. Want to talk obviously a little bit about Black Widow, just before we wrap up. Just obviously as it's out this week, or will be out by the time that this actually goes up. So yeah, we've had a long time to prepare about Black Widow. Prepare for Black Widow and what can kind of be expected. We know that it's going to take place after Captain America: Civil War.
Yeah.
That Natasha kind of reunites with her family. And I forget David Harbour's character, but he is a fairly big deal in the MCU. So yeah, there's a lot of information that we kind of know about Blick. I just want to say Blick, evidently. I want to say Black Widow. What's your sort of general thoughts? What are you expecting from the movie, just as a general overview?
I honestly don't know. All of the trailers for it have given me I don't know. They haven't really given me a really upbeat perspective of what the film is going to be. It just kind of feels like a female superhero character written by a man. That's what I'm expecting. Because that's how it sounds and that's how it looks from all of the promo and everything. And I don't know, it just feels like it's going to be another subpar female superhero movie. But that's just my opinion, and I am obviously going to go see it, and hopefully I'm wrong. I'm really hoping I'm wrong. But as of right now, that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. I'm just kind of not really excited about it. Whereas a year ago, or over a year ago, we were planning on seeing it. You were gonna come visit and we were gonna see it together, and I was so excited. And then everything happened, and it's been pushed back for so long, and I'm it's gonna suck.
Yeah. I'm
That's
hoping
what
that
I'm
just
just
works.
worried about.
Hoping that works in the best, that it's kind of lowered everybody's expectations now, because we've had some amazing series.
Yeah.
I think it is really going to go into those kind of spy roots of Natasha Romanoff. And I think you can also just kind of expect, like you said, I don't know if it will be dull. I think it will just be quite dark almost in a way. I think it's going to be a real different spin on what we've seen from Marvel in the past. Just because when you consider Natasha's past, the way that she was grew up, the fact that she's going to have to go back to where she was when she was a kid and made infertile or something like that, wasn't she? There's a lot of dark shit that is going to be opened up, I think, and then it's going to be nicely softened up to make it all family friendly, because it's Walt Disney production at the end of the day. So I think it's going to be a very dramatic change of events. I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
I agree.
But yeah, I'm not expecting a life-changing moment by going to see this movie.
Yeah, me neither. I'm a lot more excited for Shang-Chi and Spider-Man and Doctor Strange than I am for Black Widow. I think it's also just because Black Widow's chapter is kind of closed now.
Yeah. Shang-Chi is new and exciting as well. That's why I'm really excited for it, because we have seen nothing of him. And there's so much to be explored there. I really can't wait for Shang-Chi. That's going to be a different one.
Oh, yeah. That one's going to be great. That one I'm seeing at midnight if I can. Definitely. You know how I am. I like my midnight premieres. Yeah.
I still haven't been to one. I have worked countless midnight releases.
You've worked a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Venom 2 will be my midnight release. I think that's the one that I'll definitely go see as a midnight release. Can finally tick it off the bucket list.
Yeah.
Okay. That is pretty much everything. Thank you everyone for tuning in, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, all these other different platforms that we're now on through audio streaming services. Appreciate the support. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, I suppose, leave a like. Be sure to comment something down below for us. And subscribe if you're new to the channel. And you can also check out the links in the description where you can find Kare's YouTube channel. She posts a lot of good content all the time. She's going to have a lot of more exciting content as well. She's going to
Disney
be
content
in the very heart of Disney in Orlando. It is Orlando, isn't it? Orlando, Florida.
Yes.
Yeah. My US geography is absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it
is. Cool. Right, you guys can all find that. Thank you very much for watching or listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.